Gannon did what soccer players do, and to be honest, that's horrific stuff in Gaelic games. Like, I mean, that should be highlighted a little bit more. He dived. He tried to buy a penalty and got it.
The GAA Hour with Colin Parkinson is brought to you by Paddy Power, home of the Money Back Special.
So the big news from the weekend, lads, I suppose, is, well, Corofin won 4 in a row, but we're used to that. Borrisoleigh beat Ballygunner, a huge shock. And there's something about this time of the year in the hurling championship. The hurling club has kicked into gear. We're still waiting for the football, I think. Maybe want Eire Oak to beat Ballyboden or something for a nice shock, you know, to get that kind of going. I think the hurling matches have been a lot more exciting. We had the cockerel, or the cock, or whatever you want to call it, was back up in the mix. Brian Carroll, you're on Skype here. What did you make of this? What do you make of this cock?
The cock.
Come on, Willie, you're better than
The cock to the north, as they were explaining yesterday on Twitter. Borrisoleigh used to have that as an old tradition, and they brought it back into play this year, obviously. But just some crack, in fairness, seeing the cock being thrown up 3 or 4 times. I think animal rights are going mad on Twitter, but they'll be all right. It's only a bit of banter, so it's great to have traditions like that, you know, filtering through clubs. I think that's what makes the GAA so unique. It's class, really.
It does. It really does. And this is unique to me. I haven't seen this really before. His owner, the cockerel. Is it a cockerel or a cock or cockadoodle-doo or whatever it is? A cockerel. He says cockadoodle-doo. His owner, George Graham, was on TG Cahir yesterday after the game, and he explained the history that Brian just touched on there.
In 1948 or 49, Borrisoleigh and Eileigh joined up clubs. Eileigh is just up the road, it's in the parish, so it's Borrisoleigh from 48 or 49 in Sean Kenny's era. And then up beside Eileigh on a Sunday morning after mess, is it Paddy Darcy? It wasn't Paddy Darcy, it is Brian, one of the Darcys anyway, used to be selling headbands and things outside the mess. And after that then, he'd always have a few cocks and hens with him. He used to walk to the match every day with the cock and with the streamers on the cock's leg. So when Borrisoleigh got going around that time, then they were good around them in that era. They were the cocks of the north. That's the way they call them. And Sean Kenny, you see him on the All Ireland marching out the tip team with the chest out, like they were perceived to be the cocky club at the time, but we had not to be cocky about for the last 33 years. So the last time he was out in 87 in Croke Park for the All Ireland until this year, basically, because we won no finals. So he's bringing us a great bit of luck. Paddy the cock. So he's a granddad lad.
So yeah, it goes back a long time. The Cocks of the North, cocky kind of club. And the poor cockerel has been in retirement pretty much for the last 33 years, Conan, because he only comes out for finals, and Borrisoleigh hadn't been in him until this year.
That was a great interview, like, and he's talking about them having their chest puffed out and walking around as the Cocks of the North, but haven't done it in 3 decades. And now they're rubbing in everybody's faces now again when they're there. No, brilliant. Like, again, where else would you get it? Like, you know,
yeah.
I think we should have a slot dedicated to this is what the GAA is all about, because this is just exceptional.
And I was thinking the last time after county final, they need to name this cockerel, because, like, I mean, you know, it's nothing without a name, and he does have a name. It's Paddy the Cock, which is a very disappointing name, really, and really underwhelming. Paddy, it doesn't even rhyme, you know. It doesn't even. There's nothing catchy about Paddy the Cock at all. Like, I mean, you could talk about this mascot all day, but we won't. We'll move on, because, like, I mean, in fairness, I don't know what it is about village teams. You'll have to explain this to us, Brian, because for me, looking at that game, like, it turned into a battle. And when it turned into a battle, it's that village spirit, just you could see it driving them on.
Yeah, and look, we spoke about that last week, that they weren't going to make it pretty, and look, the weather obviously helped from that perspective and made it near impossible for fluent hurling. But look, there was a couple of big things. Jerry Kelly obviously threw himself around. He had a massive hit there in that second half.
Oh yeah.
And then even just he kicked the ball down along the line a couple of times, and you've seen Dan McCormick had something similar. Like, they were prepared to do anything, put their bodies in the line, kick it, hit it, whatever it bloody took. And like, their approach in the second half was very agricultural. It was like, just get it and lump it down on top of their big men and just win dirty ball. And that's all they did. And in complete contrast to Ballygunner, obviously so well coached and brilliant at what they do, but almost to a fault, because they were so insistent on playing the short ball. Like, they were chasing the game in the last couple of minutes and just playing ball around their own half-back line. And it was so suiting Borrisoleigh at that particular stage. There comes a time, like, where you just need to win your own ball, and the heart and determination that we seen yesterday from Borrisoleigh, it just is going to win out on certain days. And I think that's I think we can all relate to that in some shape or fashion. You know, we love that, and I think you're right. I don't think it's just a club thing or a village thing, but like Borrisoleigh brought that in spades yesterday. And if you look back over their statistics of their recent knockout games in both Tipperary, obviously, and in Munster, they've been winning these games in a really tight margin. The only game they won by any sort of a margin was the county final, and that was by 3 points. The rest were by 2 and by 1. So it just shows that they really believe if they get it into a dogfight, they can actually do it. So you know, full credit to them. I think it wasn't a game for the purists, but it brought something else altogether, and it was really enjoyable and really engrossing, really, watching it.
Yeah, no, it definitely was. And we're going to talk to Johnny Kelly, a man you know plenty about because he obviously won a county title with you guys. And then I'd forgotten about that, and then I was thinking of the two young lads playing with the school. I'm sure he was ringing your phone last week to try and iron that out.
Exactly, yeah, he was, yeah. And we're trying not to let him hurl. And look, as I said last week, the boys hurled for 20 minutes and fair play and didn't do him any harm.
No.
But like, look, ended up 2 boys 18, like JD Devaney was being man-marked by Barry Coughlin, like a retired county full-back. Like, that shows how much like he is a prospect. And then obviously Kevin Maher's been marked by Ian Kenny, their regular full-back. So, you know, Ballygunner had their homework done from that, but Borrisoleigh changed their tactic because they were lumping it in high on top of those 2 boys and it wasn't paying off, but they put their bigger men inside, the likes of Niall Kenny and Jerry Kelly, and getting them underneath the high ball and brought the 2 younger lads out the field. So Johnny was astute from that perspective. You know, he didn't just leave them in there or whip them off, which you often see with corner forwards. You know, he got them out and did a different role with them. But just speaking with Johnny for a second, I actually texted him last night to say congrats, another big win, whatever, and he just texted me back saying, you know, heart is a great tactic, and if you can get that into a team, anything is possible. And I just thought, you know, sometimes we get so caught up in all the professionalism of approaches, and he's so right, you know. And I just think that needs to be noted. That look, I believe it that way anyway. That's my approach to hurling and to football probably in general. But you know, you often hear the most successful teams talk about that, the need for working hard on top of all the tactics. You know, you probably going across the soccer, I support Liverpool obviously, and you see Jurgen Klopp about that as well. Very much the need that you have to have that intensity as well as everything else, that, you know, that belief in what they're doing, as well as obviously the real skillful players.
Yeah, no, definitely. Like, I mean, I don't know what it is about this time of the year, I think, Conan, as well. Like, I mean, it absolutely in hurling makes sense to just get that ball down in there. And I think even in football as well, the ball's greasy. There's too much scope for errors out the field, you know, coughing up turnovers and messing around with it. Get the bloody thing in long. It's winter football and winter hurling. There must be a different way of playing at this time of the year, potentially.
Yeah, but it's also like the biggest game of some of these lads' lives. Like, you know, I know people like Brendan Maher and stuff won All Irelands with Tipperary and all that, but like this is like the very pinnacle for a lot of club players. And Conor Laverty of Kilcoo, we've talked about Kilcoo before as a village team and that sort of classic mentality. He had a great interview in Irish News, and he was explaining it's not like, you know, there's nothing going on but football. That's a big help as well. But he was saying like we always have to pull together. Like, he was coaching under 12s when he was 16 because he had no other coach, and everybody has to get involved in the club some way or another to keep the club going. And then I think when it comes down to it, in a boggy November day, and like you've got a place in a provincial final on the line, you are going to pull together a wee bit more, I think. Yeah,
no, and like, I mean, we all know the tragedies that, you know, have happened in Borrisoleigh, and I thought TG Caher went on about that a bit too much after the game yesterday in the interviews, because Brendan Maher kind of covered that in the county final win, and then they were back asking him again, and like, I'd be interested to ask Johnny Kelly how much they've leaned on that, you know, Brian, because like, I mean, the sports psychologists tell us that you're not supposed to play on emotion, you're supposed to be a little bit more clinical than that.
Yeah, I don't think they would have played on that in a Munster final, to be honest. And you would have heard like Johnny Kelly come out of it, Brendan Maher come out of it. I think it was Jerry Kelly as well. The 4-1 is what they were zoning in on. Yeah. You know, they were really driving that one home. And you know, and like, think of it from a personal perspective. There's only so much you can lean on that emotional. No disrespect to anyone that's passed or in the past, because obviously I've had it myself with my own dad. You know, it's just that doesn't work. And you can't keep going back to the same well all the time and expecting that. You do need something else that will going to drive you. And look, good managers will find that. And we've heard of all these stories, even if sometimes they have to make it up, a reason to drive your team that day, whether it's to hate the opposition for some particular thing that they said or didn't say, it doesn't matter. You certainly just get it into your head. And I think the one that Borrisoleigh honed in on was the 4-1, and you could hear that coming out in them. And look, what a brilliant motivating factor, like in a Munster final. And especially Borrisoleigh, while they don't have the tradition of late, they still have it within their club.
They've done it once,
they've done it once, and that brings its own unique confidence, inbuilt confidence, and they wouldn't have been liking obviously all the talk about Ballygunner. It was set up for a fall, being honest, and well, now obviously they just about got there, and a debatable free at the end too, but they got there. Bizarre refereeing, I thought, as well, by the way.
I'm a big Jerry Kelly fan, I have to admit. I love him. I love watching him. He's a big burly lad, puts himself around, brilliant sideline, plays the game kind of with a smile on his face, like he's out there really enjoying himself. And then he did a really good interview afterwards as well. For such a young lad, he spoke really well. Like, I'm all over this fella. I want to see him play in intercounty now so I can see more of him.
Yeah, he's a great joke in fairness, and the sideline as well. That was audacious. Inside the 14-yard line, and whips it over, and like, especially because that was his right hand side, so he was cutting across the ball.
Right,
so it was a great score.
That's almost impossible then from that side.
Yeah, from that angle, it was really difficult. Yeah, being honest, but just shows the cockiness. But every score Borrisoleigh got, you could see them like celebrating. The whole team was celebrating, so every score was massive, and even every free they won was massive. Whereas like, I know it's easy being intelligent or clever afterwards, or hindsight, whatever, but like Ballygunner were very clinical, and there wasn't the same fist pumping or belief in that. They were just getting on with their job. But they left Borrisoleigh in the game, and the longer the game went on, obviously, the more the likes of Jerry Kelly and obviously Brendan Maher, the main guy, were able to, influence the players around them and just have that belief. Because in fairness to them, they reacted well to that goal too, because it looked like Ballygunner had, when they snuck in for that goal, that they might have just done enough to actually see it out. But Borrisoleigh dug deep again. Yeah, no, they definitely did. That's kind of when the favourites get a late goal like that, you think that it's actually just I'll make this comment. We have to move on off that. I thought Ballygunner, like, you wonder how they won it last year without Desi Hutchinson, because it seemed to be so over reliant on him. It's incredible. I know he's a brilliant player. We look forward to seeing him playing with Waterford next year, and obviously we look forward to seeing Offaly, who've Johnny Kelly as their coach. Brian, so he'll be he's double jobbing along with Michael Fennelly, who's double jobbing. So like, there'll be no teachers in the school at all next year coming up up until the end of January. Yeah, and look, at the moment they're trying to fit it around their own training. So Offaly were doing, I think it was Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, and assuming then that both of those other clubs are doing Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday. So right. They are making it work at the moment, but it's certainly... Look, I suppose the only good thing from an Offaly perspective is that the Club All-Ireland semi-finals and finals have been brought forward. It's earlier, We're looking at the 4th and the 19th of January, so it is earlier. So. Yeah, no, definitely. Corofin win 4 in a row. So, how they just have the hunger to come back and go into another battle in poor conditions. And we know now they'll be in one more big battle in January, and then they'll hit Croke Park, and who's going to lay a glove on them there? I don't know how they continue to do it. They've won 7 in a row in Galway, and they've won 5 Connachts from that. So, that's some going. I always think of Portlaoise example since 2004 when we won one. We only won one other one, maybe out of 16, counted 2 out of 16. Yeah. And Connacht is no easy provincial club to win, because Mayo clubs are traditionally good, and Roscommon are decent as well. So Kieran Malloy was talking after the game. He says, great to have another Connacht title. It's probably something we never dreamed of when we won our first in 91. They've won 10 since 91, Conan.
And isn't it great for a team whose sort of model is total football, that they're able to just mix it and not get caught at this time of year? Yeah. They'll do what they have to do, and that game was 6 each. And it seems to be the pattern over the last, even from the county final, even last year's county final. They just rely on one moment of brilliance to get them over the line in these games, and they'll just do all the work that they have to do. And as that Alex Ferguson used to say, is match the other team for effort, and then the quality will shine through. And it seems like they're willing to do that until February, and then they just open teams up then. It's unbelievable how they can just come back. And when you're going in favourites to a game, Brian, and the manager tells you, look, if we match these for effort, we should see it out. But to continually do that, because they're favourites for all most games, then they're level in the 42nd minute. And Pierce's look like they're making a real game of it. It's niggly, it's messy. You could almost make the same argument at that time. This could end up like Borrisoleigh, Ballygunner, but no, Corofin don't let that happen. Liam Silk scores a screamer, and they run out 6 or 7 point winners. Yeah, the consistency for them is unbelievable. And I think, if you were listening to what they were saying yesterday after the game as well, the way the Galway Championship is set up, they know, they literally said they know the Championship starts after the Galway races. So their players get to kind of enjoy the summer. Some of them get to go to America. They play the Sevens tournament, and they're so
successful in the Sevens tournament, the Kilmacud Sevens tournament as well. But as well, reading during the week, they're saying that they rely very heavily on actually that model of football where it's, small-sided games or conditioned games where a lot of players getting a lot of touches. So they're all comfortable on the ball.
Yeah.
I think that's probably the key. And we seen that yesterday, like the cornerback propping up for a goal. And it's not the first time we've seen that with Corofin, So it just shows like it is total football. And we've heard that probably thrown around a little bit too easily, but at the same time Corofin they're able to mix it. Pádraig Pearse has stood into them there for a while and tried to physically impose themselves on it, but Corofin, they're able to do both.
Yeah, they're able to do both. Kevin O'Brien, their manager, said after the game, he said it was hot and heavy in there, particularly 10 minutes before half time. We got involved in stuff no more than Pearse's. I like that. Like he's not saying no. Well, it was one side. Well, we got stuck in. We're well able for that kind of a game as well. And they're tough men as well as brilliant footballers. It was interesting. Kevin O'Brien also said after the game, he said in the past we've taken some time off. This is after winning it, but with 6 weeks we'll have to rethink that. I'm not sure 6 weeks is not that long away. So you know about this, Brian, I know about this, and this 12-week wait, and it's poxy and it's too long and it's over Christmas. It's still over Christmas, but it's halved. So now everything that Corofin have done before, they have to rip that up now and they have to try and find the best way of using that 6 weeks.
Yeah, it's not easy now, being honest, because we would have taken a few weeks off, being honest. Obviously, it was our first and only title so far, and we went absolutely bananas for a couple of weeks. There's no point saying otherwise. And one of the lads actually got married as well, so we had a great couple of weeks enjoyment, and then got back down to it. But yeah, 6 weeks, that I think they can take no more than a week and a half off, being honest, and I think they're going to have to get back on the bike pretty quickly. It does ruin your Christmas. I think there used to be an element of enjoyment where you're training in or around Christmas when you're in a All-Ireland semi-final. You might train whether it was Christmas Day or Stevenson's Day, but I think you enjoyed that. It was novel. It was like, you're in something really important. But you're actually so close to the game that they're going to be serious training sessions, I think, this year. If it'll be part of the schedule, like the way kind of nights go all over the place at Christmas time.
Yeah.
I think they'll be still sticking to their regimental,
they'll have to. They'll have to.
The Wednesday, Friday, Sunday kind of a job.
Yeah. No, they're definitely going to have to do that, because it's the 4th, 5th of January, these semi-finals. Like your New Year's and your Christmas is completely gone.
Completely gone.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. Will be interesting to see. I say you went mad for 1 or 2 weeks after you won it. I went to Southeast Asia for 7 weeks.
You would have missed the semi-final in this calendar.
I wouldn't have been back from it. Yeah? No, you see, I wouldn't have gone. So I'm blaming the structures of the championship that messed up that for me. But anyways, talking about Portlaoise, Éire beat Portlaoise pretty well on Saturday night. It was a convincing win. I thought Portlaoise had done enough to get back into it at half time, but I've been saying about Portlaoise, I've been consistent about Portlaoise. What I've said about them is that they haven't been playing well this year at all, and you're hoping for them to spark into life and be able to account for Éire at home, and then maybe go up against. In hindsight, it's a blessing in disguise that they haven't got to Ballyboden, because you'd be afraid what to do to them in that kind of form. Éire absolutely deserved their place in the final, and will, I'm sure, be able to put it up to Ballyboden if they're going to drop some players back behind the ball and turn it into a battle. That's what I'd be doing if I was them anyways. I'm sure that is what they're going to do. But they got hammered last year in the semi-final. I'd forgotten this, by Mullinahochta, 2-15 to 3 points. They've the same manager, Joe Murphy, and they come back this year and account for Sarsfields, who Kildare champions, have been Leinster champions only 2 years ago at Moorfield, maybe 3 years ago, and then Portlaoise, who would be second to Dublin for maybe the last 15 years. So massively impressive from Éire, and it can't be taken away from them. There was nothing lucky about this.
No, there really wasn't. It was a boring enough match, but they looked a better team. You're right, Portlaoise came back into it. I think they got 1-3 in the first half, and I thought they were going to just start running away, and Éire tightened up more and then come out in the second half, and they just started opening them up again. I was a little bit disappointed with Portlaoise at how easily they were being counter-attacked.
They were being suckered on the counter-attack, and that's the oldest trick in the book, really. You shouldn't be getting suckered on a counter-attack anymore.
I don't think Ballyboden will let that happen. Now, I'm sure Éire will have new plans, or to bring something a little bit different, to be mindful of that anyway. But yeah, Portlaoise got a little bit spooked by all the numbers. Now, Éire defended brilliantly, and there was a stage when Portlaoise were on this run, and Bruno McCormick got the ball, and somebody made a brilliant run on behind, and all it was going to take was a hand pass over the top, But McGilligan, we talked about Michael Fitzsimons in the All-Ireland final. McGilligan just stepped off away from McCormack, stopped the goal, and they took the point. Do you know, it was just that brilliant bit of unselfish defending that just conceded the point and not the goal when they might have just lost the game at that point.
Yeah, Joe Murphy said about that Mullinahachta loss, he said, we're still finding our feet in the competition. We weren't very experienced and got suckered that day. It's a big turnaround, Brian, really, like in the space of a year. That's why I wasn't really giving Éire Óg a chance against Sarsfields or against Portlaoise. They just hadn't done enough in Leinster. And that win, the Sarsfields win and the Portlaoise win, absolutely now puts them back, I suppose, where they belong, considering how good they were in the 90s and how many they're second to Vincent's and Portlaoise with 5 Leinster titles. They're back at the top table in Leinster now.
Yeah, they are, but I think you're right. Like, look, I follow Portlaoise because I taught there, obviously, and I've taught some of the boys that were playing on Saturday night, and they haven't been playing well. And missing Paul Catalan obviously is a big loss as well, obviously, because he has been their go-to guy alongside Bruno the last few years. So, you know, they haven't been playing well. I wasn't surprised to see Éire Óg turn them over, but I probably was surprised to see the manner of it in that second half. You know, like Portlaoise only getting a point from a free in the second half. They more or less lay down in their home ground as well.
Yeah.
You know, it was very disappointing. But you're right, Éire Óg, like, you know, they're so successful inside in Carlow, and probably learning from last year, there was no way they were going to let Portlaoise turn them over, you know, in any sort of considerable fashion. But I think they were willing to do whatever it took.
Yeah, it seemed to be
Saturday
that.
evening.
It seemed to be that, yeah.
And Portlaoise, certainly, like, they're waning. They've just, you know, I know they're doing enough in Laois, but, you know, they're certainly not the team that they used to be.
No, they're definitely not. I think people appreciate that, you know, and they've been, teams are getting closer to them in Laois, and then you're getting struggling over the Wicklow champions. That shouldn't really be happening, no disrespect to them. But it's interesting, Éire Óg and Portlaoise, they've won 64 county titles between them, and they'd never played before.
Yeah,
in the
that was
Leinster
amazing
club.
stat,
It's a mad stat, yeah. There were some weird refereeing decisions in this, Conan, and this was a convincing win, and we're not throwing any doubt on that. But Jesus, the penalty. How on earth was that a penalty? That was outrageous. Keir Lillis looking up at the ball, and Gannon blatantly dived. He should have got a yellow card for diving. Look, and it's not sour grapes. The penalty was saved. It didn't have any bearing on the game. But how would a referee give that a penalty for that?
I have no idea. No, like, Lillis went up, like, as you said, his eyes on the ball for about 5 seconds, and like, his knee didn't even go into Gannon or anything. It wasn't like, you know, while he was jumping, he connected with him. Gannon was at the side and fell.
Gannon did what soccer players do, and to be honest, that's horrific stuff in Gaelic games. Like, I mean, that should be highlighted a little bit more. He dived. He tried to buy a penalty and got it.
I don't know if Lillis even knew he was there. Like, I genuinely don't. He just had his eyes on the ball and he went up and caught it. And actually, very impressive how, like, you would have been going apeshit there if you were him. Like, you've just gone up and caught the ball and the ref's given a penalty.
But did that sum up Portlaoise's lacklustre kind of performance? They didn't even query that much. You know, like, almost
but
just
I thought Lillis couldn't. Sorry to cut across you. I thought Lillis couldn't query it because he was on a yellow.
Yeah.
He was after clipping a lad across the face just previously. Could have got another yellow, and then he gave away a penalty.
Yeah.
You know, he did query it a little bit, but he couldn't keep pushing the point because your man comes around and says, well, actually, hold on a second now. This is your second foul since your yellow card.
Yeah, but even Brody should have been coming out, and, you know, the little dive action.
Should have been someone else.
Gary Syce was at it against the Pearsons when one of the lads made too much out of it. They're all making too much out of it, but this wasn't one, because Jordan Morrissey obviously got Lillis sent off, went down holding his face. He got tackled in the stomach, which wasn't nice to see either, because, like, I mean, the game had gone away from Portlaoise as far as I'm concerned. Lillis had been playing well. He scored an unbelievable 1-1 off his weaker left foot, off the outside of his left foot. So he's a right-footed player. But, like, I mean, Colin Boyle can have no complaints about his sending off, but I thought Lillis is sending off. Now, you have to take this into context that he could have got a second yellow for the other one. So, like, but if you're just to analyse his second yellow in isolation, it was a horrific second yellow, really, because this was Jordan Morrissey going down holding his face, and you don't want to see that either.
Yeah, and it wasn't like a rough foul. Like, I think it was technically a foul because he brought his hand on the back, you know, that classic.
It was probably a foul,
but it was borderline a foul. Like, I think it was just like, oh, keep your hand off your back and you might get it. He came side on and tried to get the ball.
Yeah,
like,
slapped at the ball.
Yeah, and like, and if you are, even if you're taken out of isolation, it's like, is he being checked because of this apparent foul in the box earlier? Do you know what I mean? So that's accumulating to his overall red card, like him apparently fouling Gannon in the box for the penalty. Like,
Yeah.
that shouldn't come into consideration because all he did is catch the ball there. So.
Yeah, no, listen, they were two disappointing ones, but definitely the Gannon dive. The Morrissey one, we've seen that before. He gets the contact, he's running across someone, and we've probably all bought a free for stuff like that, Brian. Like, I mean, I'm sure you have. You kind of cut across a lad, you know you're going to get contact, and you go down. Now, you wouldn't go down usually holding your face, but maybe you would if you want to get him sent off. That's fair enough. But Sean Gannon's dive was something that you see in soccer, not in Gaelic football.
Yeah, like, I don't like the diving and holding your face. Like, if you're not bursted, like, what are you doing that for? Like,
he's trying to get him sent off. That's what exactly what he's doing.
I know, I get that, but obviously I just don't think that way, I suppose, and you know that. I've had this argument with you loads of times. I'm totally against that sort of stuff, and I agree with you. I think we need to actually be systematic about it and try and cut it out of the game. Sometimes the linesman might have a better view of that than the referee, but I think any sort of diving like that needs to be certainly something done about it. I don't know what at the moment. I didn't think about the sanction, but I definitely think it needs to be try and cut out of the game, because it's horrible to see it start creeping into it. Yeah,
maybe retrospectively. So Joe Murphy deserves a lot of credit. He's obviously a club legend, has 5 Leinsters to his name, and he made a good move by bringing on Willie Quinlan's young lad, and you love to see ex-legends, young lads playing as well. He brought him on the freeze at half time, and he didn't miss one. They were being missed in the first half. Joe Murphy said after the game, Éire Óg is a family. We pride ourselves on keeping connected and staying in touch with each other. That it is great that Éire Óg are relevant in Leinster again, and I think we'll all agree on that it's great to see Éire Óg relevant in Leinster again and back in a Leinster final. Ballyboden hammered Garrycastle. It was wishful thinking. Ballyboden they look so strong. I was reading one report on this, and it's something that often crosses my mind, because obviously I've played club football in Dublin, and Conan, you do as well. And he said the report said the gulf in upper body strength and athleticism was palpable. Like, I mean, and that's something, like, I don't care what anybody says. Dublin club teams train harder than teams outside Dublin. Well, in my experience, they do. They do much better strength and conditioning programs, much better. I think it's still stuck in the old days back in the clubs outside of Dublin, where maybe you don't have the expertise. You'll do a few weights and they're nothing that special, and over the course of the summer, are they really kept up to the level they should be? I don't know what you think, Conan, or like, obviously coming from your club, or I know from all my years playing with Portlaoise, the training we did with Parnell's with strength, as regards strength and conditioning, was way higher than anything I'd ever done with Portlaoise, and this is coming from a much better club to a Division 2 club.
I think like a big thing with Dublin is that everybody seems to they know the clubs a bit better. Like, especially at the top table, like you know exactly who you're coming up against and what their strengths are. So, just in my experience, like, you're targeting games with a lot more sort of articulation, exactly what you're doing. Like, and I know even Ballyboden are a different level of game with strength and conditioning, I think. And I said this before a few weeks ago. We played them in the group stage, and the tactic was to not get caught in that middle third, because they were simply bigger than us and stronger than us, you know? So we're trying to get it over them, or just keep the ball out of there, or like keep possession if we had to. And even like in terms of us not having the ball, we were doing like sort of rugby stuff in training beforehand. Like, manager won't thank me for saying this, but it was basically, the idea was we're not going to be able to turn them over on our own, so we have to get one man to stand up. Like, the person on the ball could run with it as long as they want, because that's sort of simulating what a Ballyboden person could do. And then we had to try and get more people in to try and turn it over.
Right.
Like, and just because like they were that strong, that's what we were targeting going into it. But it didn't work. They're
they're very impressive. They're very, especially because they struggled to get over Nafeen at that time as well. They were, they really had to pull it out of the fire there. But I don't know what you think of that, Brian, just seeing them togged out. I know this game wasn't on the television, but in general.
Yeah, and in general, obviously we played Ballyboden.
You played Ballyboden,
in the hurling, and look, obviously played against many a Dublin team, and I do agree with your point. They seem to have a different level of fitness. They seem to be almost, as a group, more into fitness. But then again, I suppose it can sometimes come down to a numbers game, Willie, because remember, clubs down the country, like the Jerry Kelly, you have to play everyone, and you have to play them regardless of their shape or size, and you get the best out of them as you possibly can. We can't replace them, if that makes sense. So you just get on with it. Facilities probably obviously not as good in terms of gyms. Some clubs have quite good facilities, but it is certainly a little bit behind down the country. There's no doubt about it. look, when we played Ballyboden, when the strength and size were coming into it, and there's no point saying there was a massive gulf in that. But we obviously, in hurling, it's slightly different. You can let the ball do the work.
Yeah.
You can
and
move
skill,
the ball a good bit faster, and skill comes into it. Exactly. So it can. There are ways around it, obviously, in hurling. Not all the time, obviously, but from time to time you can just move that ball a little bit faster and rely on that sort of thing. And especially in heavy ground then as well, you can move that ball. Whereas obviously if you're relying on passing and moving, it sucks a lot of energy out of the body, and there can be a lot of needless running in hurling sometimes.
Yeah, no, it's not. But it's not as important in hurling, but it's still important. So Desi Dolan retired again after this match. So in fairness to Desi Dolan, I don't think Desi's doing this. Like, I mean, there's a car dealership that sponsors him, and they're all over Twitter this morning and wishing him best of luck on his third retirement. So he's retired from Intercounty a while ago. Then he made a throwaway comment in Desi's defence that's me done now with Westmeath football, because he was finished after this year. So now he had retired after the county final. This same car dealership is all over Twitter, and now you're just waiting for them to lose in Leinster. Now he's retired again. So I thought that was I'd said Desi privately I was a little bit embarrassed of seeing that, because then you've one or two other players who are also getting money from this car dealership now, wishing him the best of luck again at this, and it's like, Jesus Christ, let the man go. Like, I mean, you would be a little bit embarrassed with that. But John Keane probably summed it up with Desi. Even out there today at 40 years of age, he's hitting free, scoring from play, leading the way, directing traffic, everything. He's just an incredible man for this club. I sat inside there in the dressing room. Any bit of success I ever had in my own career has been with Des, and I just delighted I was out there today when he finished it off. So we'll leave that at that, because there's two more retirements in the hurling world. Brian, Colm Callanan has retired, and I thought that was an interesting one. He's an All-Star in 2015, won an All-Ireland in 17. Interestingly enough, he said in his statement, I'd also like to thank Shane O'Neill for his understanding and support of my decision. I'm also delighted that the transition will be made easier after accepting a coaching role in Shane's new backroom team. So, Shane, sorry, look, I'm just ringing you to tell you I'm not going to be around this year. Right, okay, Colm, I'm disappointed. Here, I'll get back on to you there. I'll give you a ring back. So maybe this happened in the same conversation, or he didn't maybe think about it for a couple of days. But it's nice. All right, you're dropping out, because he's obviously going to be their goalkeeping coach, you would imagine. But like, I mean, he landed a job straight away. So I would say his partner, if he has a partner, or his wife or anything, isn't too happy with it. Yeah, I'm out now, love, but I have some more news for you.
I'm right back in.
Yeah. So I'm back in.
But he's very, himself and Skettle obviously were number 1 and 2 there for years, and Skettle took over from him. They're actually really good mates, and Skettle got himself in unbelievable physical condition, and it was actually with Colm Callanan in Truey's gym. He went on a fitness regime in Colm's gym. So the boys were obviously quite close, even though they were in direct competition with each other. So maybe there's something in that. Maybe the Galway selector saw something in that and saw that Colm might have something to offer for James Skettle from that perspective.
Yeah,
I don't know. I'm just looking at that from the outside.
Yeah,
obviously.
maybe. Richie McCarthy's gone too. You might have seen this. This was just announced this morning, and Richie McCarthy's always described as a fan's favourite. And the reason he's a fan's favourite, number one, he's his style of hurling, and number two, he carries a little bit of junk, even in the championship.
And he has a great chant.
What's
so simple, but Richie McCarthy. Oh yeah, the Limerick crowd on the terrace love singing that. So it's real simple.
So it's he's Richie McCarthy.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Okay. Well, they'll have to retire that one now. And that. Well, he's the type of fella being the fans' favourite. He'll be on the terrace with them the next game, isn't that it? That's kind of Richie, is man of the people.
I'll be stuck in the middle of them, with the hands.
So he's an All-Ireland winner in 18. He got on the pitch as well at the end of that, I'm fairly sure. He won a Munster title in 13 and won an All-Star that day. So he kind of started taken off from the fullback position, didn't he? I think that's what endeared him to the fans. I don't want to be harsh on him with the fitness. I'm sure he was more than fit enough. It's just he was kind of looked like he wasn't fit. Is the nicest way.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. He obviously was. If he was playing in the county hurling, he was fit. But yeah, he definitely still carried a bit. But he was well able to hurl.
Oh, he was
kind of like he was one of the old school fullbacks too, probably still playing in the modern era. So I think you're right. I think it was lovely that he actually got back on the day of the All-Ireland, the last couple of minutes, Unlucky then he done his cruise shit after that, and saw no game time then last year. So you can see why, same with Colin Callan got no game time either. So you can see why these guys are moving on after a year. Paul Brown after doing something similar too in Limerick too. So it's very hard when you're given that time. Probably haven't started for so long over the years, and then no longer featuring, so you can understand why they move on.
Yeah, you definitely could. Two more pieces that were in the Sunday Independent to talk about here, lads, before we finish up. And well, Joe Brolly had a good piece, and we're not going to talk about that. And it was funny, Joe Brolly went after the GPA last week, and now Colin O'Rourke is going after them this week, when the two lads, they've always have the GPA in their sights anyways. And Colin O'Rourke writes a piece that I agree with. He's talking about the Super 11s or whatever they're called it was in New York this year. So it was Kilkenny, Limerick, Tipperary and Wexford. Elite teams. No Joe McDonagh Cup winners like Laois being asked out, which I think is just outrageous, especially at that 11s game. Laois would have more than enough skillful players to be able to play that. So he says 4 Irish teams, Kilkenny, Limerick, Tipperary, Wexford, played out this newfangled version with soccer goals and some type of scoring system which nobody understands. I imagine a promotion of hurling will be better served by these 4 teams spending a weekend in some of the weaker counties, maybe doing a bit of training with teams on a Saturday with an exhibition game against the county side on a Sunday. I thought that was a great point. I've said this on the show before. Would these lads not be better off doing something like that, Brian? It makes sense. You've played this bastardised version of hurling. What? It's not hurling. What is it?
Oh, you're dead right. Bastardised. It's just a bastard of a game.
You didn't say no to the trip at the same time, did you?
I got no trip. Excuse me. I played in Croke Park.
Oh, it was in Croke Park.
The American football game was when
right.
I played. I didn't get the trip. I got enough trips now, to be fair. I was lucky from that perspective, but no, I didn't get on this one. But I didn't enjoy it one bit, and I love hurling and usually all forms of hurling, but I don't know what it was about this. I don't know if it's confined spaces or you couldn't kick the ball, you couldn't hand pass it twice in a row. It just goes against kind of some of the nature of the actual game, especially in tight spaces like that. Yeah. And as he said, a different scoring system as well, scoring outside the 20 metre zone and off the hurl and all these sort of, just, I don't know, it wasn't for me. I didn't find it enjoyable at all. And obviously, look, I love scoring goals, but I just didn't seem to take to it. And I certainly take Colm's point. What a waste of money, essentially. And I know GPL fight back saying that it was all sponsored and all that, and it doesn't cost the GAA or the GPA any money. But for them to raise that type of money, could we not spend it elsewhere on certainly more important things? And even Columns is certainly one idea that would stack up. It would be a great idea. Like I think you touched on as well, like the 4 teams that actually end up going, I think 3 of those teams are actually going on team holidays as it is. Yeah. So I certainly know of certain players that didn't go to New York last weekend because they couldn't get enough holidays from their jobs to go on this, because they looked at that as the least important of the trips that are ahead of them. And the All-Stars are obviously on this year too. So, it's the same people getting to go on the same trips. I suppose me having heard from Offaly for years, you never get to go on any trip. There's no such thing as a team holiday. Now, I was lucky enough, I did get in a couple of All-Star trips and 3 trips with Leinster as well, but I was probably one of the lucky ones in Offaly. But the vast majority of players from Offaly, Antrim, Laois, all these counties, they don't know what a team holiday is. They have no idea of it. So it is quite frustrating. I think the money could be spent better elsewhere.
Well, that's the thing. I know that they make a lot of money at a private function when they're over there because of all the players that they can actually have at it. But I don't know, Conan, how they can make money from the actual game. Nobody was at it. Did you see the pictures? Like, whatever about the first one in Boston, it looked like there was a decent crowd there, but there was no one at this one. It's bizarre. So unless they're taking the hit on that and making enough money out of this dinner where there's some outrageous prices, like 25 grand for one experience.
Yeah. Are they taking a hit anyway and trying to just promote the game abroad? And I know it's not working.
Hurling, you see. It's a bizarre thing because it's not hurling. What's being promoted?
I don't know. And part of me does, it's a good point that Brian makes about there's already enough holidays, especially for these boys. Part of me was thinking, sure, isn't it great for the players that they get to go away? I do think it would be better served if they had more counties going out and getting to go away. Then there'd be less complaining. And Colin O'Rourke's point is bang on too. I was just wondering, could you just do both? But I don't know why they're not just playing hurling out there. Even play hurling and goals only if that's what you want to do. Or if you're trying to sort of make something a little bit different. But why is it not just the normal rules?
It doesn't make sense. It's definitely a silly one. We'll have Paul Flynn hopefully on the show here in the next couple of weeks, and we might put some of these points to him. Another controversy, Conan, is Meath. Brian's had to leave us there. He's the school bell rang. It's this podcast is recorded on his lunch hour, so it's now 1:54. The second bell has gone off for school, so we couldn't keep him on any longer. So there's a Meath GAA controversy. This was in the Independent as well, and we remember talking about this before. It's the Meath County Board Chairman Peter O'Halloran. So he's not going to be sanctioned. He's going to get no suspension for calling on a referee to ride another club. So this was confirmed on Saturday. So the background to this is that O'Halloran's County Board Chairman, now think about this, he was chairman of the county's CCC, rather. He sent messages to a referee saying, "I'll be sending you to ride Slane in a month or so." A minute later, he followed up with tramps. Then 3 weeks later, on April the 3rd, this is in 2017, the referee sent O'Halloran a message saying, "When do you need me to go to Slane?" Almost 2 hours later, O'Halloran replied, "May or June, when things die down." He followed that up with "See you later." Now, the context of this is that O'Halloran's club, Drum Conrath, there's me with my usual pronunciation of clubs I've never heard of, his club and Slane played in a game that was abandoned, a very controversial game. So that's why he's calling them tramps. And that's why he's saying he's sending this referee to basically cheat. Right. So what I find interesting about this is why he felt comfortable sending this to that referee. Do you know what I mean? I'd be wondering about this referee anyways. Like, I mean, why would your man be comfortable? Now, the referee has done the right thing and has reported this. So, like, maybe I'm being a bit harsh on him, but it's a very bizarre thing for some official to send to a referee, unless they were good friends. And you know, he hasn't denied sending it. So that's it. So as it comes down to it, he's not going to receive any suspension, and there's actually talk of him running. He's not chairman anymore. There's talk of him potentially running again. And the reason that he's not going to get a suspension is because Liam Keane, who's the county board solicitor, he thought that under Rule 7.3, number 5, they had no powers to suspend O'Halloran because the rule states that evidence or information shall not be accepted or considered unless applicable to a period not longer than 96 weeks prior. So because it was further back than 96 weeks, they can't punish him, then it's fine. You can do anything you want like that as long as it's kept under wraps, and if it comes out and it's only exposed, well then you're pretty much you're free to go, pretty much is it, and he can run again.
Isn't that unbelievable? Like,
but that's we've talked about GAA rules and how much of a farce they are and these technicalities, but that's completely wrong now. That man should not be involved in any administration of Gaelic games again. There's not. You'd want to be a fool to argue against that.
Yeah, like the rule is stupid as it is, but why on earth would anybody in Meath County Board now want this guy to be involved? Like, how does that make them look?
Yeah,
like it's terrible. Like, every club person, I'm sure, has a bit of paranoia about the county board and how they're being treated, and they probably have a ref who doesn't like them. This just confirms it for Meath people, like, you know, especially for Slane people, that there's somebody at the top who's like deliberately targeting them. Yeah, like, it's crazy.
It's crazy. And credit to the referee for bringing this to to people's attention, because to be honest with you, would you think something like that wouldn't be an uncommon thing?
No,
You'd hope it wouldn't be, but it wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me, because don't think county board officials don't have club loyalties as well. Like, I mean, you know, and that's again GAA politics. You keep coming back to.
I just can't believe that somebody in the Meath County Board would not think, look, this looks terrible. Like, take a step back for 96 weeks.
But even O'Halloran shouldn't be going running again. Like, I mean, you've practically brought the game into disrepute there, mate. Just sit it out. You've been caught. Sit it out, you know, help out with your club, but you won't be on any county boards anymore. Why would you even want? Anyways, there's talk about him running again, so we don't know that he definitely will. So I just thought that was an interesting one. Last story, but not least, is Mullinavat. It's all about Mullinavat here. So they beat Rosenallis, and I can tell you firsthand, Rosenallis are a good club intermediate side. They're the Laois champions. They hammered Portlaoise in the semi-final, and I played against them last year. I was in Australia for that game this year. I played against them last year and they beat us as well, and they were a bloody good team then as well. I think they won the double, the intermediate double. Very good club. So that just puts in context what what a brilliant win for Mullinavat. We're going to do something on these before the Leinster final, Conan. We have to.
Yeah, like they beat Ballybuckle, the Dublin champions as well, and like the whole squad play hurling. They train hurling all year, and then apparently I think they got 3 weeks before the Ballybuckle game to start like preparing for football.
Listen, we can't say things like this because the hurling snobs will be telling us any bad hurler can play football, and you're going to start proving this now.
Oh shit!
Well, I'm glad Brian Carroll is gone because he would have been laughing on the other end of the line. Right, we'll leave it there, Conan. We've gone way over time, I'd imagine. As usual, we'll talk to Johnny Kelly next. So Borrisoleigh are Munster champions after beating Gunner against the odds. 4-1 they were yesterday before the game, and their manager Johnny Kelly joins us on the line now. 4-1 was mentioned in a couple of interviews after the match, Johnny.
I was, Colin, I think, look, we were rank outsiders yesterday, and I suppose it was probably a motivational factor for us, and we didn't mention too much, we more concentrated on getting the performance out of ourselves, and thankfully we got that yesterday, and lucky enough came out the right side of a titanic struggle.
Yeah, I thought your comments before the game were very good, Johnny. You said, I don't buy into having nothing to lose. I hear the monkey off your back in bonus territory. You have something to lose, a Munster final, and we're there to compete. A lot of managers over teams who have just won a county title in a long time use that kind of stuff. You weren't entertaining it.
I suppose, yeah, look, I do realise that you can talk about bonus territory, and it is a fact that you are, and it's a feel-good factor about winning your first one, but you definitely have to consider where you're at in a certain stage of a championship, and when you take the field in a competitive environment like that, you really must put your best foot forward, and ensure that everyone's head is in the right place. So absolutely, you're in these games to win, and at that level, you must look to get a performance first and see where that takes you. So absolutely, we had our heads in the right place, I said, all week, and we were happy with the way it turned out.
You definitely did. When it kind of got into a battle, didn't it, Johnny, with the conditions and stuff like that? And when it was in a battle, you were in there with a great chance.
Yeah. The conditions probably suited a more direct type of play yesterday, so we tried that. And to be fair to Ballygunner, they're an excellent side too, and they broke back up the field and got some good ball inside to Desi Hutchinson, who had a good game yesterday for Ballygunner. But we stayed true to the way we set up, and it isn't pretty, and sometimes it can backfire. But we had excellent performances. Brendan had a game for the ages, at centre back, and he moved out pretty well and got on some good ball, and all the heart and desire that you want from a club's team was there and greatly evident yesterday. So, it worked, and hopefully it continues to work. Yeah,
you even had the young fellas like James Devaney tracking back, and you moved him out there because maybe you wanted to go with the long ball, and Jerry Kelly throwing his weight around. I'm a big Jerry Kelly fan, I was saying on the show here in part one. He's be a real fan's favourite, but even those young lads, no problem doing that hard work.
Absolutely, your forwards, your primary job there is to score, but the work rate and the resilience that these young fellas show yesterday, but not even yesterday, just through the Tipperary Championship as well, the tackles and the hoops and blocks that they're putting in, is critical to the game. And again, they're not found wanting, and we rely on those guys as well heavily.
Yeah, exactly. Brian Carroll was on the show here in part one. He told me you were on to him about the two young fellas playing in a school match last week.
Yeah, look, obviously we're trying to protect him. We're playing in a Munster final maybe 3-4 days afterwards. So I know Templemore, then we're in the Harty Cup, and they have a job to do too. Look, so we have to try and protect these guys and make sure that they're in good peak condition for a Munster final. But look, in fairness to them, they came on, they did the job at Templemore, and played with their club then on the Sunday, and did a really good job for us. So they're great guys.
In a weird way, isn't it? That's not the right preparation for a Munster final, and these lads, I know they're only young fellas, but then you win the county final for the first time in 33 years. I'm sure you celebrated Saturday, Sunday. I don't know about Tuesday, you'll have to tell me. And then you're able to go out and beat Glen Rovers the following week. I don't know, is there too much made out of these drink bans and things like this when you see Naomh Connell up in Donegal are able to beat the Cavan champions with a 2-day turnaround after being out after winning county championships?
Oh yeah, but there's a huge trust element there. Like, and we trust these guys. Like, it's an amateur sport. Like, and certainly you have to enjoy the sport first of all, and you have to be able to socialise as well. Like, but there is a limit to it, and they realise where that line is, and they don't cross it. And there has to be a bit of give and take. It is a club game at the end of the day, and I think you could be right. I said maybe, as I said, maybe there are too much made of curtailing guys and keeping lads off of social events and stuff like that. But there is no doubt, like, you can't be foolish either. You have to rein guys in at the times. But I've no problems with that in Borrisoleigh, never had, and I don't think I ever will. They're a good bunch, and they know where the line is, as I said, and they don't cross it.
Right. There's been some turnaround since the North Tip final that you lost. Like, I mean, momentum is a huge thing, and you just got that run at the right time.
Yeah, absolutely. I would go back to North final. Like, I mean, you're coming off the back of 5 games there, like, and the previous Sunday was a semi-final that went to extra time. The 2 young fellas, as you previously mentioned there, had played minor on the Saturday beforehand, like, so it wasn't really conducive to a good display. I think people were disappointed in that the North final was a bit of a non-event in terms of quality, but as I said to one of the reporters, what did you really expect? We can't go that many games and expect them to be brilliant every day. So we realised that pretty quickly after the North final, refocused and set out our stalls for the coming weeks, and took each game on its own merits, or looked at each team that we were playing individually and planned accordingly, and we are where we are.
Yeah, there's been a lot of talk about, the awful tragedies in Borrisoleigh recently, and the players have all mentioned it, and they mentioned it after the county final. Is that something you would have used as a motivating thing, or is it too emotional, to be drawing on stuff like that?
Not at all, no.
Players themselves?
Absolutely not, Colin. Yeah. To be fair, it's a whole different ball game there. I mean, the tragedies are what they are. They're tragedies, and they're terrible for the families that are still grieving. Like, and it's not something we bring into the dressing room. Yes, we talked about it to some of the guys that would be friends of these particular individuals. It was a tough time, and it still remains a tough time. Sport can never alleviate the grief that these people feel. Like, but it's in respect to that, you go out and you play a sport, and you do well for your parish. It brings a bit of joy to an area, and that's the key thing. Like, there's a bit of happiness around Borrisoleigh this morning again, and everyone is in relatively good form.
Right, okay, well that's it. I think it was Jerry Kelly in his interview afterwards said he'd been up at the graveyard of his 2 friends before the game. That's his own personal choice or whatever. Like,
absolutely, yeah.
We were saying in part 1 that the sports psychologist will tell you not to be playing on emotion, or not having, not to get too emotional before a match. No, absolutely, yeah. Look at me. Yeah, you have to be composed. I suppose composure is the greatest state an athlete can be in, and while there'll be emotion, and there'll be times that you'll be a little bit under pressure in big games, like, composure really is the key, and once we have that moving up in the field, it's energy really, isn't it? We need to get onto the field with as much energy as possible, and you look at performance, and we don't look about winning. We look to get a performance first of all, and see if that's good enough to win games. Right, okay, I won't keep you too much longer, because I know you have to get back and do a bit of celebrating, which is completely understandable. I need to ask you about Offaly though, because you're in as Offaly's coach under Michael Fennelly, who's manager, and the 2 of you are going to be double jobbing. These Offaly lads are going to have a free ride before Christmas till the 2 of you are able to show up to training. Not at all, but Michael's a very professional guy. Like, Michael knows he's hurling, like, and he's really impressed me already with his ability as a manager. Like, he's really has his finger on the pulse there, and he's set out a good schedule, and we're working really well together and dovetailing there. Like, yes, the weekends are busy, but there's still plenty of time and to serve both Offaly and Sport Ballyhale and Borrisoleigh. It's definitely a busy time, and you avoid each other until the final. I know you won't look ahead too far to that, but I'm sure there's a few jokes, text messages been sent around amongst the 2 of you. It's actually interesting that you played the Galway champions. Obviously you're a Galway man, so you'll know plenty about St. Thomas's. Yeah, brilliant team, like, and have been in Galway for a number of years, like, and they're the one team in Galway that consistently performs and has some real quality all over the field again. And Conor Cooney, David Burke, Ian Burke, Finton Burke, a great prospect for Galway, just back from a cruciate ligament injury. He came back in the county final and got 2 great points.
seriously physical team as well. Like, and we're not looking beyond that actually today, and then maybe next week or the week after we'll start looking at St. Thomas's and plan for the 4th to 5th of January.
You've won an All-Ireland as manager with Portumna in 2009. You were involved in as a selector, I think, in another couple of wins. You won an intermediate with Abbey Knockmoy, and you won a senior with Coolderry, as Brian Carroll was telling us as well. How does winning with other clubs as manager compare to winning with your own club as manager?
Oh, look, I was lucky to be involved with a brilliant bunch of players in Portumna. Like you're talking about Ollie Canning and Joe Canning and
Damien Hayes, of course.
Yeah, excellent player. Like and his brother Niall. Like, I mean, we had a special bunch that time. Like, winning with your own club, it's really, really special, and it's something that I'll cherish forever. But it's no less sweeter. It's no less as sweet like in Borrisoleigh or Coolderry when we won those titles. Like, and this is particularly satisfying at the moment in Borrisoleigh. Like, given that they're a small parish, numbers are tight. Like, but they're doing incredible work here. Like, and that's just an honour to be sharing the dressing with the likes of Maher and Paddy and Dan McCormack and these guys. Like, and, I'm just happy to help out.
Exactly. We have 6 weeks to prepare now. It used to be 12 or 13 from your time with Portumna. I saw Kevin O'Brien, the Corofin manager, saying he used to give them a bit of time off, which a lot of clubs do, but that's kind of off the table pretty much now with 6 weeks. So you'll have to, your next job when you finish up celebrating today is to try and think of how to fill up that 6 weeks over the Christmas and everything, I suppose.
Absolutely, yeah. I should take a week off really, I suppose, is the first thing, and maybe give them next weekend off and then back into training. And I suppose we're looking at then maybe 4 or 5 weeks. You're probably looking at maybe challenge games or getting a couple of games like that just to keep guys on their toes. And it's probably a tricky one to handle. If you could take off a bit of time, it might, it's very hard to get going again. So it may be a good thing. So we'll wait and see.
Yeah. Okay. Well, listen, Johnny, thanks very much for taking the time for us, and congratulations yesterday.
Okay, Colin, listen, cheers, thanks for that.
So Paddy Power performance of the weekend, Conan, and the first one is Chris Blake, who scored 1-5 corner forward for Éire Óg. What a brilliant goal to start the game off with after, less than a minute. Like, he actually looked surprised it went in. Did you notice that when he went for it? Yeah. He just kind of was almost stunned that it was just such a sweet strike.
It was like, couldn't strike it better. Did he pull it too much in his mind? Did he think he maybe just pulled it a bit too far? But
went in off the post. Like, Brodie's a brilliant goalkeeper. That's just unsavable. And to go for a goal that early from that distance, like I've said this lots of times, the easy thing there is to tap it over, get yourself off the mark as a number 13. You know what I mean? And a score is a good score. A point is a good score at that stage. Jeez, it was a brave goal to go for at that time.
And to not even take it a bit further, like you said, he just stood there and just drilled
very confident.
It, and the camera angle was class because it was just, we could see it was going in the whole time, and you could just see Brodie planted, knowing that if I dive, I'm not going to make that flight. So it was brilliant. Like, and just confident and just so much conviction. Just catch the ball, turn, stay where he is, and just put it off the post. And
brilliant. It was an absolutely brilliant goal. Talking of brilliant goals, Kieran Lillis scored a brilliant goal as well, and he was playing really well before he got sent off. A brilliant outside of the left. Like I said, his left foot is his weaker foot, but I think the goalkeeper, you'd probably say he was at fault. An inter-county goalkeeper wouldn't have let that in. I'd say it probably shocked him, because if you're coming in from that angle, you're probably not expecting him to go for the near post, because that's where you should have kind of covered off, but he didn't have it covered off. Lillis, to his credit, spotted that and put in a bullet off the outside of maybe it was more of a punt, but off his weaker foot. Had enough pace on it. An inter-county goalie wouldn't have allowed a goal like that in. That's fair to say.
Yeah, no, I think the keeper should have saved it. But in fairness, like, Lillis was coming across like he was about to hand pass across the goals, and you could see it in the replay.
He might have taken a step.
He kept looking, and then he just drilled it, and it was low and hard as well. Like, so he did strike it very well, but you still think the keeper should save it. But it was a brilliant run from Lillis, and I didn't know. I thought he must have been left-footed, especially after the point. Yeah, outside of the boot, with your weaker foot. Yeah,
he's had a great year for Portlaoise. He's been an exception to a lot of them who haven't probably been playing as well as they could. He's had as good of years he's ever had with Portlaoise. And I think playing midfield regularly with Laois, is really helping his game, because he played a lot of wing back, he played a lot of centre back, and he's a big fella. He's not the fastest fella, but he's a great football brain, and he's all the skills, you know, off both feet. And he's not the best fetcher in the world, but he's able to get around the field, and he's got a great engine, and he's definitely found his best position at this stage. Brendan Maher was just on another planet yesterday. Like, the point from play he got at a really important time. You know, you say inter-county players should be standing up and are counted at club level, and he just looked an inter-county player playing that, you know what I mean, playing that game. And I thought Desi Hutchinson did as well, but Brendan Maher just looked like, geez, if you came and you never saw a hurling game before, you said, that lad, he's able to play at a higher level than this.
Yeah, like that touch, obviously, that he came, like, there's a big scramble in the middle of the pitch, and he just comes and flicks
like he robbed him, like he just picked their pocket and was gone. Like
somebody on Twitter said it was like a chess master landing into a game of drafts, and just taking it onto a whole other level. Like, but yeah, brilliant. You mentioned Hutchinson as well. His accuracy is unbelievable. Yeah. Like, he's putting it over from all sorts of angles. Yeah. But Brendan, it
doesn't drive them too hard. They all just kind of drop over the crossbar. You know, they're not rockets or anything. He just knows his range and is getting them over from that range.
Colin Cooper trick in the hurling now.
Yeah, just put them over, just get them over, pass them over. Yeah, Stevie McDonald. Maybe he imagines a man standing on the crossbar. Any of our football show listeners will know what I'm talking about there. So he was saying after the game, himself and Dan McCormack, we're going to have to sacrifice the tip team holiday, but we'll gladly do that. This is enough of a holiday for us. So, like, I mean, look, I understand that's more important than a team holiday, but wouldn't it be nice to be able to do both?
Yeah. What is it, 6 weeks until their game?
6 weeks, 4th and 5th. Like, we get no Christmas off here either, Conan. Yeah. We're back in Thursday the 2nd for these All-Ireland semi-finals.
Yeah, like, could they not go on the holiday for a week? A few days.
Well, last year, wasn't it, the Ballyhale Shamrocks fellas, Henry Shefflin allowed TJ and Colin Fennelly go out to that Wild Geese. Yeah. And that was the week before the Leinster final, wasn't it? And he explained it. He had a good explanation. I can't exactly think of it now. It was like they have the work done, or they were going to play a game over there. Yeah. Or no, I don't think they actually played the game. But he didn't want to stand in the way of a trip like that. It was a weird one, because you would imagine a manager wouldn't be allowing their players go the week before that. Yeah. You know? Like, I suppose a team holiday is a booze up, so that's out of the question. Maybe they're not anymore, Conan. Maybe they're not. Yeah. Maybe they're training over there and all.
Yeah, maybe the boys don't want to go on a training holiday.
Would you believe they probably are training over there? Because when we went on a holiday after winning the Leinster final to South Africa in 2004, we trained. We actually trained the second day we got over there, and I missed the training.
Of course you did.
And I was on really thin ice with O'Dwyer, and I went out thinking, I'm going to use this holiday to prove to this man now that, you know, that I'm a good lad and that, you know, he can count on me and I'm committed. The very first training session, we were out the night before, and I ended up back in the room with an air hostess, and I told her to set her alarm. And she didn't set it. Needless to say, we fell out. But anyways, I went out, so I ran down after realising I was like a half hour late. They were after doing like 20 laps, which is normal enough for Micko in the heat. And I got out just as they were finishing up. And I ran over to Micko. I says, Micko, I'm really sorry. And I told him, I said, she didn't set the alarm, would you? And Micko didn't believe me. He just ignored me, walked straight past me. So what I did was I told the county secretary to stay out with me, and I did exactly the 20 laps that they did on my own with his supervision.
Oh yeah, that was good.
So he went in at least, and he would have reported this back to O'Dwyer, and O'Dwyer ended up, he was a gas man, Mickey, he ended up seeing me sitting beside your one at the pool later on that day, and then he was, you know, clapping his hands.
Understood.
Kind of, you know, laughing with the lads. Look at the other lad.
I love the way you said there, Micko didn't believe you, as if you had a really valid excuse. It's like, you know, she didn't set the alarm.
It's a classic. But anyways, listen, but Sean Gannon, we have to give him a mention, even though we've criticised him badly. Usually when you dive like that, you don't make a nomination for performance of the weekend, but like he was very good, and he's a player that he's one of Carlo's best players. Very, very tasty player, very good on the ball. And at club level again, you know, those good inter-county players should be standing out, and he did.
Yeah, he was so impactful, and everything that they were doing good, it was sort of going through him. And he was getting fouled a lot as well, in fairness. Like, he was a target man. But you said about Brendan Maher, him and Kieran Lillis, it was the same scenario. I think they just looked to cut above everybody else, and the two of them were trying to drag their teams to victories. It's a shame they weren't like directly marking each other. That would have been nice to see, but I think they wanted to keep both of them free.
Maybe that was it. Liam Silk is the final nomination. Like, I mean, we've covered this before. Teams dropping off, leaving Liam Silk with a free run. It was a goal in the last game, a good goal left inside his own, a rocket this time. He's got a great record of getting goals and he takes penalties. And Pádraig Joyce will have a role for him, I'm sure, a more attacking role than he deserves, really. Like, I mean, playing, like, he can man mark. When he came on, when I first noticed him, he was man marking Diarmuid Connolly and Tullamore in an All-Ireland semi-final when Corofin upset Vincent's that year. Geez, that could have been 15 maybe or something. And I kind of had him, geez, that man's a good man just to track a lad. There's a whole lot more to him than that. So maybe you might like to see him as a number 7 maybe, and with the licence to get forward as much as he can.
Yeah, because he's got such good attacking instincts as well. The surprise, like, he's got the 2 goals in the last 2 rounds. Like, he started the move, sort of. You know, he's been in half forward, passed it off and ran on ahead, and nobody followed him. Now he's got great pace and timing of his run. But it's just like, it's Liam Silk. He's not like a normal cornerback that you can leave off. He's going to punish you, and he's punished the last 2 teams, and they've sort of been the difference in the games both times. Yeah,
two really big goals. Anyways, that's it. They're the nominations, and I think it's very obvious who the performance of the weekend is. It's Brendan Maher. Outstanding stuff from him. Trying to tie him down to get him on this show, and he's very elusive. He doesn't like doing anything the day after a game anyways. So, like, I mean,
I like a bit of mystique around these boys as well.
Well, he does a lot of, it's not like he refuses to do media. He does plenty of media. It's just I'm trying to tie him down after winning a match, and you know, it's not always that easy. So thanks very much to Johnny Kelly for at least taking that call today, because I know it's not easy the day after a game, and the easiest thing to do is just let it ring out or not reply to a text. So all the lads that do reply and answer a phone on a Monday, we appreciate it a lot, and so did people listening. So Brendan Maher, performance of the weekend, All-Ireland, county title, Munster title, and Paddy Power lucky pants. What a year. Congratulations to Brendan. Right, we might be back Wednesday this week, because obviously we talked about the great debate being on Thursday, so I might try and look at the schedule, and we might do the show on Wednesday this week. So we'll talk to you either Wednesday or Thursday. Good luck.